You can run, you can hide, you can build walls so high they scrape the heavens. But when divine judgment knocks on your door, there's no place left to go. When Allah's wrath comes, it doesn't send a warning. It arrives with fire. It arrives with truth. And it does not miss. You reap what you sow. That's not just some old saying passed down to sound poetic. It's law. Can't walk this earth planting hate, injustice, and bloodshed and then act surprised when the storm rolls in. See, people think they can play God in the lives of others. They think power, position, and privilege give them the right to step on the necks of the weak, silence their cries, erase their history, and call it peace. But there's a record being kept that no man can edit, no army can destroy, and no media can twist. That record is written in the unseen, where intentions weigh heavier than words, and justice is not delayed, it's being prepared. People get bold when consequences don't come immediately. They mistake patience for permission. Just because the sky doesn't crack open today, just because the earth doesn't swallow the guilty right now, they think they got away with it. They smile in press conferences, drop bombs behind curtains, and sleep soundly while others, but the seed is in the ground. And every drop of innocent blood waters that soil. Every orphan child, every mother crying over rubble, every prayer whispered in the middle of destruction is not unheard. It's an echo building into a roar. When that harvest comes, it won't be subtle. It won't knock politely. It will demand what is owed. Justice is not a man-made system. It's not up for debate in courts or decided by corrupt hands. Justice, true justice, belongs to the one who sees all, knows all, and forgets nothing. And when he says now, there's no power on earth or in the sky that can hold it back. The same hands that drop bombs will be raised begging for mercy. The same voices that silence the oppressed will scream unheard. And the same leaders who smiled in arrogance will tremble in fear, not of man, but of the truth they thought they bury. You sow injustice, you get wrath, not revenge, wrath. There's a difference. Revenge is emotional. Wrath is righteous, measured, exact, and it hits with precision. That's why the innocent don't fear it. They stand in fire and come out purified, but the guilty, they run, they hide, they build systems, weapons, narratives, but nothing works. Because you can't outrun what you planted. You can't harvest peace after sowing war. You can't expect love from soil drenched in hate. You can't. It's written in every faith, every scripture, every piece of wisdom that has lasted generations. What you put out into the world comes back to you. Folded, multiply, undeniable. You thought this was a game? You thought people forget? People might. But Allah, never. Mercy has a limit. Don't let the softness of divine grace fool you. Don't confuse open doors with approval. Allah is the most merciful, yes, but he is also the most just. And justice does not sleep forever. You see, people walk this earth thinking mercy means immunity. They keep stepping over the line, keep testing the boundaries, pushing the pain further, piling sin on top of sin, because they don't feel the ground cracking beneath them yet. But what they don't realize is that mercy is time. It's a delay, not a denial. It's space to turn around, not space to keep destroying. And every moment they waste, every breath they use to deepen the wound, that mercy starts to shrink. Now the thing about mercy is, it's a gift, not a guarantee. You don't earn it by default. You don't get it just because you ask while still doing the wrong. Mercy isn't a cloak to hide behind while you sharpen your blade against the innocent. And Allah, he sees the hearts behind the hands. He sees who's crying because they're sorry and who's crying because they got caught. You can fool a court, you can manipulate people, you can cry on camera, but you can't lie to the one who created truth. There comes a point where you on the day where every lie crumbles and it says, I gave them time, I gave them chances, I gave them signs. And when that record rolls out, every ignored sign, every silenced voice, every arrogant shrug at the suffering. Mercy steps aside. And what steps in? Wrath. Divine, absolute, not petty, not angry like man, but clean, controlled, unstoppable. People think because Allah doesn't strike them down today, He never will. That's the illusion of mercy. That's the trap. It feels endless, but it's not. It's vast, it's deep, but it's not blind. Mercy knows when to step back. Mercy knows when the line has been crossed too many times. Mercy knows when the door has been knocked on enough and now it must close. And when it does, don't expect a knock. Expect a storm. Look at the world, look at what's happening. Generations beg for relief, children growing up in rubble, voices calling out to the sky asking, where is justice? That's mercy waiting. That's mercy holding the floodgates for as long as it can, but not forever. Because justice delayed is still justice owed. And when the books are open, the scales balanced, and the veil lifted, it won't be mercy speaking. It'll be the fire of truth. It'll be the response to cries that echoed unanswered for too long. It'll be the moment when the most merciful becomes the most just. And that shift, when it comes, doesn't ask permission. No power can outrun God's decree. Doesn't matter how many tanks you roll through the streets. Doesn't matter how high your jets fly or how fast your missiles move. When Allah decides it's time, all that power becomes paper in the wind. People build empires thinking that they're untouchable. They sit in war rooms with maps and strategies, pressing buttons that decide the fate of entire nations, as if they control time, life, and consequence. But power on earth doesn't mean power over heaven. It never has. And the problem is, they start to believe their own illusion. They believe the throne they built with violence will protect them from the one who sees through every layer of it. You can have every ally in the world. You can own the airwaves, rewrite history books, spin every truth into a lie that fits your agenda. But not one of those things can stop what's been written. When Allah decrees something, it's done. It's not debated. It's not voted on. It doesn't get delayed because someone lobbied hard enough. When He says be, it is. And when He says fall, nothing can stand. That's a reality. People forget while they're chasing power. They forget there's a limit to what hands can hold. They forget there's a limit to how long you can stand on injustice before the ground gives way beneath you. Power can make you deaf. It can make you blind. It can make you believe that silence from the heavens is permission to keep going. But it's not permission. It's a pause, a moment of grace, a warning written in patience. And when the time ends, the same voices that shouted in arrogance will beg in whispers. The same hands that drop destruction will tremble under the weight of consequence. And it won't be by another army or another nation. It will be by decree, divine, unstoppable decree. History is full of giants who thought they were gods. Pharaohs, emperors, tyrants, all of them thought their might was eternal. All of them thought their rule was untouchable. And all of them fell, every single one, because the sun always sets on human power. Always. And the only power that remains after the dust clears is the one that never needed soldiers to begin with. The one whose command alone is enough to reshape the earth, split the sea, burn through falsehood, and leave nothing behind but truth. So when the world looks around and asks, who will stop this? Who can break this power? Know that the answer doesn't come from below. It comes from above, from the one who needs no permission, from the one who watches the oppressors every step and waits, not because he is weak, but because he is wise. And when that wisdom turns into action, not a wall, not a weapon, not a whisper of power on earth can stand in its way. The earth testifies, it watches, it listens, and it remembers. People walk on it like it's dead, like it's just dirt beneath their feet. But the ground you walk on is alive in ways you can't even comprehend. Every step you take, Every act you commit, every tear that falls, every drop of blood spilled, it absorbs it, holds it, carries it. And on the day when truth is unveiled, it will speak. It will testify. Because Allah made it a witness, not a silent bystander. A witness. One that doesn't lie, doesn't forget, doesn't get tired. The soil beneath your boots, the stones crushed under tanks, the rubble left behind from bombs. They are not just casualties of war. They are pages of a testimony being written in silence. People think they can bury the evidence, level the homes, burn the documents, silence the victims. But the earth, the land where injustice was born, becomes sacred with memory. It cradles the cries of children, the footsteps of the hunted, the prayers of the desperate. And while the world scrolls past, desensitized, distracted, the earth holds on, waiting. Because when the day comes, it will speak. Not in riddles or rumors, but in truth, clear, loud, unshakable. This is bigger than courts, bigger than headlines, bigger than human justice systems that favor the powerful and silence the poor. When Allah commands the earth to release its secrets, there will be no courtroom needed. The truth will rise from under the very boots that tried to stomp it out. And those who thought they were hiding their crimes behind walls and uniforms will find those same walls turning against them. That same soil they claimed, occupied, desecrated. It becomes a voice they can't mute, and it will say what needs to be said. The land of the oppressed becomes holy not just by history, but by sacrifice. And every time someone sheds innocent blood on it, that land becomes louder. It doesn't sleep, it doesn't rest. It waits for justice. And when that justice arrives, it won't come gently. It won't come with apologies. It will come like the ground shaking, like the mountains trembling, like every hidden truth exploding into light. And those who walk the earth thinking they owned it will realize they were being recorded. Every step, every strike, every silence. It's not just the people that cry out for justice. It's the land itself. The olive tree uprooted, the home turned to ash, the graves unmarked and desecrated. They all become evidence in a case that no one can dodge. On that day, the earth will say what the world refused to hear, and its voice will be undeniable. Because Allah doesn't need satellites to record crimes. He created the earth to do that already. And when it speaks, the guilty will tremble. Not because they didn't know, but because they knew and thought they could silence the very ground beneath them. Truth doesn't die in silence. You can try to bury it under rubble, drown it in propaganda, erase it from textbooks, and muzzle every voice that dares to speak it. But truth isn't made of paper and ink. It's divine. It's fire. It breathes, even when the world tries to smother it. And the more they try to silence it, the louder it becomes, not always in the way people expect. Sometimes truth doesn't shout. It waits. It watches. It finds its way through the cracks and lies like water through stone. And when the time is right, it doesn't whisper. It erupts. Look around. The world is built on the illusion of control. Voices that speak truth are labeled dangerous, radical, inconvenient. They're jailed, beaten, exiled. And yet the truth they carried, what happens to it? It doesn't vanish. It spreads, it multiplies, because people don't remember silence. They remember courage. And the ones who stood in the face of oppression and said, this is wrong, even when it cost them everything, they become the echo that keeps bouncing through generations. You kill a man, you think you killed the message, but you didn't. You set it free. Truth isn't intimidated by force. It's not impressed by military might or political spin. It doesn't need 1 million followers. It needs one voice, grounded in faith, unshaken by fear. Because truth is heavy. It bends the backs of liars. It breaks the masks they wear. And once it's exposed, there's no turning back. That's why the oppressors fight it so hard, because they know it's not just an idea, it's a weapon. And it doesn't need bullets, it just needs to be heard. You see it in the eyes of the oppressed. They don't need permission to speak the truth. They live it. Every day they wake up in occupied lands, walk through checkpoints, bury their loved ones, and still say, "We are here." That's truth. Every mother who holds her child in rubble and prays to the sky, knowing the world is watching, and still does nothing. That's truth. And it cuts deeper than any speech ever could. It moves hearts in places no army can reach. That's why it survives. That's why it thrives in silence. They try to erase it because they know it's stronger than them. But truth doesn't flinch. It doesn't beg. It doesn't bow. It stands even when the world kneels to lies. And when Allah commands it to rise, not a soul on earth can stop it, because it belongs to Him. Not governments, not armies, not media empires. To Him. And when He says it's time, that truth becomes thunder. It shakes the foundations of falsehood. It sets fire to everything built on deceit, and all that's left standing is what should have been there all along. Faith is the fireproof shield when the world is burning, when injustice rains down like fire from the sky, and when it feels like every breath you take is surrounded by smoke. Faith stands untouched. It doesn't stop the fire from coming, but it stops the fire from consuming you. That's what the people of truth understand. That's what the oppressed carry in their chest like armor. You take everything from them, their homes, their safety, their loved ones, but you can't take what they believe. You can't touch the core. That's where Allah lives. That's where faith burns brighter than any flame meant to destroy. You see, faith isn't just a word people say when things are easy. Faith shows up when everything else is gone. When the ground disappears beneath you and the sky offers no shelter, faith becomes the bridge that carries you through what should have destroyed you. It's not built in comfort, it's built in fire. And the ones who have it, they walk through trials with something in their eyes that no weapon can remove. It's not arrogance, it's not denial, it's power. Quiet power, because they know who walks with them. That's why you can never defeat a people who believe you can conquer their land. You can rewrite their stories. You can erase their names from your news cycles. But you can't defeat what lives in their hearts. You can't silence what's already been submitted to the Creator. That's a different kind of strength. That's the strength of prophets, of martyrs, of mothers who bury their children and still raise their hands to the sky saying, Alhamdulillah. That's not weakness. That's power the world can't understand. Faith is what makes a person rise when the world wants them buried. It's what lets someone stand in front of tanks unarmed and still unafraid, because they're not counting on this world to save them. They're counting on the next. They know justice might not come in the timeline of man, but it will come, because Allah promised it. And His promise is He's truer than any threat. Run their way. So they stand. And they walk and they endure. And the fire never wins. You see it in their eyes. The ones who believe, the ones who say, even if the whole world turns its back, my Lord never will. That's not a slogan. That's a conviction. It doesn't move when things get hard. It gets stronger. It doesn't run when the fire rises. It walks through it. That's why the oppressor always fears the believer more than any army. Because you could fight flesh and blood, but you can't fight a soul already surrendered to its Creator. And while the tyrants panic, while the world spins its lies, the believer sleeps with peace, not because the storm isn't real, but because they know who commands the storm. That kind of faith, it doesn't break, it refines. For weakness, don't mistake patience for absence. When Allah moves, it shakes the earth. When He decides, nothing stands. And when His wrath falls, no tyrant can escape it. The fire in Israel is not just about land. It's about truth rising from the ashes. You better be on the right side of history. Because when the fire comes, It doesn't ask who you meant to be. It burns through lies, and all that remains is what's real.